Manchester United is still a top four club. You might not want to admit it, Manchester City fans, but there is some truth to it, unfortunately, because standing at a whopping 76 metres, the Cowley Spout is the tallest waterfall in England. And standing in second place is the Cannantine Falls, which stands at 70 metres, not a respectable second place, a familiar position to Arsenal fans. Cauldron Snout is the third biggest waterfall in England, standing at 60 metres. And then, of course, you've got the mighty Manchester United and Old Trafford, standing at 55 metres, which, as it stands, is the fourth biggest waterfall in England. And I mean, who knows, one day the rumours are to be believed that they are going to spend quite a bit of money on Old Trafford, which is falling down. And Ten Hag is a fucking clown, of course. Glazers staying 10 more years. Man City on the beers. But if that is to be true, and they are going to upgrade Old Trafford, then we could see something pretty impressive, to be honest. I mean, who knows? They could reach the pinnacle of waterfalls in England. Who knows? Who knows? But one thing I will say to Manchester United fans is, don't go chasing waterfalls. You know, I Googled that before this video because I was curious. What does that even mean? Don't go chasing waterfalls. And it is this. A way of expressing how people chase intangible dreams with no thought of the consequences. I mean, if that's Man United in a nutshell, I don't know what is. Because that is very Manchester United, very appropriate. It screams of Ibrahimovic, Henrik Larsson, Cavani, Lukaku. You know, these absolute has-beens. Michael Owen, get him in the door as well. Paul Scholes retired, get him back, get him in. Even with a Zimmer frame, get him back, mate. We want those intangible dreams. We still believe we're Man United. You're living in the shadow, mate. Shadows, that's where Manchester City's shadows, to be precise. Your has-beens, you're finished, you're done, kaput. That is the new way of Manchester, the new way of England, the new way of football that they're struggling to deal with because Manchester United have been buried by Manchester City. Officially, it's done. Now, you do need to respect them a little bit because they are in an FA Cup final. Don't forget, you don't get to an FA Cup final as mugs, so they do still have a chance of winning something, which Arsenal fans don't. So, of course, I forgot to actually mention that, of course, in my my reaction to winning the league as well, because I did want to send out a big help to all those Arsenal fans, because if you are struggling with depression right now and you need someone to speak to, then there is help out there. Don't feel ashamed to admit it, but there is help out there. You can call the Big Red Football Club hotline. That number is 0800 10 10 10. That number again, 0800 1 0 1 0 1 nothing. Pop, 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 pop. Big red clubs are getting shots, bullets, strays, firing out everywhere. Only Liverpool have survived this intro so far, and they've won a little tin pot club with the League Cup, so they get one as well as I depart from this intro. That was an enjoyable little intro. I must admit I enjoyed putting that together, but there are facts in this. The fact that the FA Cup is a respected trophy. United can still go and win it. They can be a threat on their day. You have to respect some of the talent that they have. Like they're in moments, aren't they, Manchester United? They do live in moments, special moments. We've seen already. They've got 2 goal of the season contenders, which is very Manchester United. Finishing 8th, you know, losing 19 games and conceding 84 goals in the process. Yet they've got 2 goal of the season contenders. So that's very Manchester United as of late. Real, like, sparks, flash in the pan moments. That Rashford goal against City was unbelievable. Garnacho, that was unbelievable. So we have to factor in that they can do things. We do need to respect the fact that this game is not won. There is this foregone conclusion mentality that I'm not very keen on, to be honest, because I am a realist. I like to look at every game game at a time, and Manchester United, they are a Premier League club. They're nowhere near as good as Manchester City, but on their day, they could do damage. Manchester City are facing a potential FA Cup and Premier League double back-to-back, which is the first time ever this will ever have been achieved, ever. So we've got the 4-peat, which has never been done in English history, and back-to-back Premier League and FA Cup doubles has never been done in English history. So we're in one foul swoop of a season, we're about to destroy that myth that Manchester City have no history. Well, we've created history in the space of 365 days, mate, with 2 unbelievable achievements potentially. I mean, the 4-peat's enough for me. I don't want to get greedy. That's enough for me. But I will not say no to another piece of history, which is an FA Cup and Premier League double. And speaking of double, we've already done the double over Manchester United. Could it be a treble? That word that they used to think was theirs, the treble. And it's ours now, mate. We're the most recent treble winners, the best treble winners, because we went on to win the FIFA Club World Cup and the UEFA Super Cup in the process, beating Real Madrid and Bayern Munich in the Champions League in the process. So that is a treble that can be held in high esteem for Manchester City fans. And Manchester United have to go back quite some time to when, I'm not sure you can even go into what we're talking about, VHS. You know, VHS was playing back when United won the treble. Now, you just click on the internet, mate, and everybody can see Manchester City win the treble. But will Manchester City win the treble in terms of beating United 3 times in a season? Because the last time that was done was 1970. So what an achievement that would be. But you've got to factor in the moments for me that United are capable and that they always concern me with the players. I don't think Marcus Rashford's going to play, to be honest, and I hope he doesn't, because I feel like he's the sort of player that can pop up with a worldie here and there. We've seen it already. I don't think he's going to play, though, which would be great news, because, I mean, he's not with it at the minute, is he, Marcus Rashford? But City have just got to do what we've been doing. In finals, we've been in finals all season. Well, for the final third of the season, every game has felt like a cup final. Pep said it himself, cup final, cup final, cup final. Every game was a must-win game, because we knew that if we dropped points at any stage, Arsenal were waiting in the wings. They had to sit there, Arsenal fans, and watch us win every single one of our games in the final stretch going towards that Premier League title. So one more, that's all that's left. One more before the end of the season, and we can rewrite history as it's known in English football by going and winning this FA Cup. I mean, what an achievement it'll be. So we are very familiar with finals, but you want to sprinkle that bit of realism in there. Don't forget to factor in that we lost to Wigan. A game that was a foregone conclusion. Wigan got relegated that year, and we lost. There was a lot of disharmony with the changing room. Mancini was reportedly already sacked. The players knew it. They weren't fighting for him. It showed on the pitch. That scenario is very reminiscent of what's going on at United right now, because it sounds like Ten Hag's already got one foot out of the door. They aren't fighting for him. Some of them aren't fighting for him, at least, with numerous accusations from their ex-professionals, their ex-legends of Roy Keane and Paul Scholes and Wayne Rooney are all just saying the players should be ashamed of themselves. I agree. In truth, I totally agree. But it's an FA Cup final. I mean, if you have any sort of pride in yourself, then surely you want to win an FA Cup. So it doesn't matter who the manager is, it doesn't matter on form, and the fact that Manchester derbies always add a bit of razzle-dazzle to the environment, that always has to be factored in. And I don't think this is a foregone conclusion. I do think we will get the job done, but it will be that sort of game where we get the job done rather than wipe the floor with them. I would love nothing more than to see Manchester City wipe the floor with Manchester United in an FA Cup final. Something catastrophic, like a 4 or 5-0. Something like that would be hilarious and very, very enjoyable. But I think it will be a closer game, similar to the last FA Cup final. A final that we dominated. Completely took United to pieces in the middle of the park, dominating that football, but we won 2-1 in the end, with a lucky equalising goal that was a penalty, that was a dubious penalty, because what is the handball rule anymore when Jack Grealish handled that ball in the penalty area? How United got a goal out of that game is beyond me. Beyond me, but it took a Gundogan worldie to send us into absolute ecstasy. Cloud 9 stuff for Manchester City. 17 seconds into the match and the game was almost done at that point, with 30,000 bucket hats on every single Manchester United fan's head. What a waste of time. You might as well take them off and cry your tears into them, mate, because we went and won the treble that year, and what an achievement. What an achievement. But for me, I feel like finals, the best team in the finals is usually the team that plays best without the ball. I feel like that's what a final's all about. Now, again, if you link that theory to United, they're in trouble because they're terrible without the ball. Terrible. You know, conceded 84 goals this season. They've conceded the highest number of shots one of the highest number of shots in the, I think the highest number of shots in the Premier League, if memory serves me, which is an atrocious statistic. And they gift you chances. They absolutely wrap them up and roll out the red carpet. Have a shot on our goal, please. I mean, if they do that to this Manchester City side, then we will wipe the floor with them. But there's pressure on Ten Hag with De Zerbi's on his left. Pochettino's no longer in a job. What's Ten Hag thinking? How's he going to motivate these players? That speech that he gave to the 30,000, 30,000, I would say probably about 30,000 because half of them had left at the end of the game. Manchester United fans. The speech that he gave for me was disingenuous. I felt like a bit fraudulent, to be honest. I didn't believe anything he said. I felt it was a bit cringe, in truth. Now, that for me was a real insight into how Ten Hag speaks to these players. So I saw a horrible insight into the way that he inspires those guys. And I mean, you saw some of them like talking to each other while he's speaking. You know, it's embarrassing. They've become a joke. They have become a joke. But they could have the last laugh. They go and win this FA Cup final. I mean, we've still technically had a better season. Not technically, factually, had a better season than them, whatever the result of this game, because we've won the Premier League. The Premier League is the big one this season. I mean, they were out of the Champions League before Christmas, mate. So, I mean, what a waste of time that campaign was for Manchester United. But we were very close, you know, penalty shootout away from being in a Champions League final. We've already got the Premier League, of course. If we go and win this, I'll be thinking at the end of this season, I'm frustrated that we got knocked out on penalties to Real Madrid and we could have had back-to-back trebles, let alone back-to-back doubles. But still, I'll take it. Now, team news. Ederson is the only one for Manchester City. As for the rest, I expect a similar situation for Manchester City, the similar setup that we saw against West Ham. Two players that are up in the air for debate, and I'll get onto them shortly. United, Maguire, Malacia, Shaw, they are ruled out. But Lindelof, Martial are back, and Mason Mount as well is reportedly back. Are they going to go with a 4-2-2-2 or are they going to go with a 4-2-3-1? We've seen United try and win games lately, actually. They won against Newcastle. They won against Brighton last day of the season with a 4-2-2-2 system that's a little bit brave, a little bit bold. It would be strange to see him try that against Manchester City, which is why I think he's going to revert back to the system that he played against Arsenal most recently. And Arsenal just scraped over the line against United with a 1-0 win. You know, in that 4-2-3-1 system that packs their midfield a little bit more and gives them an out ball as well, a little bit more natural width. So it'll be interesting to see what they do. In terms of my predicted starting 11, let's go with United first. So Onana is likely to be between the sticks. I think Martinez is coming back, and I think Varane might start as well, which I think is their best centre-back partnership as of late, with Maguire being out as well. I think Varane and Martinez is a nice balance of energy with Martinez plus experience of Varane. Diogo Dalot, who for me has been probably one of their best players this season, starting at left back though. Wan-Bissaka at right back, which means no more Casemiro, which is a shame because I would love nothing more than to see Casemiro playing at centre back against Erling Haaland. That would be wonderful. I can't see it happen. Now, is he going to go with Amrabat or Casemiro? Casemiro's experience in a cup final might play a role more in his natural position in defensive midfield. So I do think he is going to play Casemiro sitting in front of the back four. And alongside them, I'm going to go with Kobe Mainoo, who has been not as good lately. He got off to a great start when he started playing first-team football for United, but he's fizzled a little bit, just a little bit, but there's a lot of promise there, isn't there, for him? Same can be said about Ahmad as well, and I think he'll be on the right. Garnacho on the left. Bruno Fernandes as a number 10, and then Højlund I'm going to go with up front. That right-hand side for me is potentially, there's some strength there. Going forward, Wan-Bissaka isn't the best at going forward, but there's a nice balance there. The other side of the pitch, Garnacho, who is not the greatest at tracking back. Will Kyle Walker force him back beyond positions he's more comfortable with? We'll have to wait and see. Manchester City team news, I have to go with Scott Carson. No, I'm joking. Ortega. Scott Carson, congratulations on getting your new contract, mate. I mean, this guy's gonna die at City, isn't he? He's gonna have a grave in the middle of the training ground. I guarantee you, Scott Carson ain't going anywhere, mate. He's gonna be with Manchester City forever. Kyle Walker, right centre back. I'm gonna go with Ruben Diaz, central centre back. And you got to go with Guardiola, haven't you, as of late? Which is a shame because I feel like Nathan Ake, you could put Nathan Ake in that Ruben Diaz position, and I wouldn't have a problem with that. I'm just going for the experience and the leadership qualities that Ruben Diaz has to offer, and the team that played against West Ham and played very, very well. Manuel Akanji popping in and out of defensive midfield and centre-back, no doubt. And Rodri, of course, alongside him. Now, the debate, the two players that are the only two for me that are up for debate are, do you start Doku or do you start Kovacic? Because I feel like Kovacic will control the game really well, but the explosiveness of Jeremy Doku complemented Guardiola really well. He's got Wan-Bissaka to go up against, though, which for me is one of the, well, he used to be one of the best one-on-one defenders in the Premier League. Back in the day, I think Azpilicueta, Wan-Bissaka, those two were brilliant one-on-one defenders. Wan-Bissaka's drifted and fizzled out a little bit in the last year or so, but I still remember his qualities. He used to pocket Leroy Sané, even back in his Crystal Palace days. I remember we always used to struggle against Wan-Bissaka, so it'll be interesting to see if we do play Doku. I'm going to go with Kovacic, though, just for that extra man in midfield. The control that he exudes in that midfield, I think, is a really good addition for this type of game. In a cup final, you want that football. You don't want it to be end-to-end. You don't want to lose control. For as long as possible, you need to control that football, and I think Kovacic brings that to the game. Where are you going to expect a dirty low block from United? West Ham, I felt like the explosiveness of Doku was someone to expose a weak spot. The Kufal, for me, was getting rinsed to the point where they had to double team him. They don't have that weakness, United. I feel like they're quite strong with Wan-Bissaka in that right-back position. So I feel like we will win the game more in the middle of the park against them. Kevin De Bruyne in midfield. I'm going to go with Bernardo Silva on the right, and then Phil Foden, player of the season, potential Ballon d'Or winner, on the left. But you know he'll be tucking inside for the majority of the game for that extra man in midfield, and Erling Haaland up top. So, like I say, we'll probably see Phil Foden tucking in alongside here and seeing Guardiola coming down that left-hand side to maintain some width for Manchester City. But on paper, this is my starting 11. Get your predictions in. Get your predicted starting 11 in, your predicted score lines. This is my starting 11s. What's yours? I'm going to go with 3-1. I feel like United, they always have a goal in them, don't they? I feel like they will score, but I feel like we'll have too much for them over the course of the 90 minutes. Will it be finished in 90 minutes? I'm going 3-1 in 90 minutes. Do you think it'll be done in 90 minutes? Do you think it could go to a disgusting penalty shootout? Oh, that wouldn't be good. But yeah, get your comments in the comment sections below. Let us know your thoughts. Like and subscribe to Typical City, and I'll see you in the next one.
This is Typical City now, holding up silverware.